of the table requesting things. So I was like, no, I just want to focus on one thing and just get really, really good at it. And that's what I want to start doing now with the brand.
Welcome to Noise Disruptor, world's most entertaining marketing podcast. We're talking about future marketing trends, marketing strategies. Well, we keep it light by also talking about personal stories, about challenges, about experts in the marketing field. Today I'm with Robbie. Let me introduce him. He also has his own agency, his marketing agency.
Yeah.
He's working on building a couple of his own brands, if I'm right.
Yeah.
He's also Irish, so he loves to drink in the weekends nowadays and also organizing his parties.
Not every weekend anymore. It's kind of more like a work hard, play hard, pick and choose my battles, you know.
Work hard, play hard. I love that. Welcome to the show, and I'm glad you're here. I will start with the first question because I don't like to let people introduce themselves. But I was wondering how your parents would describe what you do.
Yeah, so a mix of things really. My parents wouldn't be that well versed when it comes to the online space. So the way they describe it is just like...
How old are your parents, for some reference?
My parents are like 55 and 56.
Okay, not too old.
So yeah, not too bad. My dad is not very tech savvy, but my mum has kind of background in sales and she's worked with some sales companies, so she would have good experience online. So she'd have probably a better understanding. But essentially, just working online with brands, and then doing kind of other side projects. Then it's just like magic internet money to them when it comes to crypto. So kind of a mix of, or a blend of the two between digital marketing and online with the agency, and then just kind of branching out into the crypto space and trying to integrate digital marketing and crypto together and see where that's going over the next number of years.
That's super interesting. Like I had a talk with a friend, and he's big in the crypto space. Like he started like 5 years ago, and he's worked for different companies. But we had like a small discussion about like marketing in the crypto. What's your thoughts about that in general?
Yeah, like there's two kind of ways I see it. It's like one is the kind of like make a lot of noise about a hype coin, and then just like pay influencers like they're doing on YouTube, or they're paying influencers to do shout outs or like airdrops and stuff like that, especially in the NFT space. That's happening a lot, but they're kind of just like pump and dumps in a lot of cases, because like a lot of the influencers don't really have any like proper values themselves. They're happy just to take the money. But then on the other side, then there's actual like real communities being built in the crypto space through like Telegram, Discord groups. You know, a lot of projects are holding AMAs where the communities are very active with communicating with the projects and the dev teams. So yeah, there's two sides on the marketing end. I think just like progressively growing it through having, you know, as you said, like Discord channels, Telegrams, you know, having a very active presence on social media versus the kind of paid promotion stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Why not?
Because it's just too short-term thinking. Like it's easy just to pay an influencer to try and pump something up, but if the project is doing good things, and you know,
it will organically grow, right?
Exactly. I'd rather see the community grow exponentially rather than just like grow like overnight and then just like dip off straight away. So yeah, and that kind of branches out into marketing as well when it comes to whatever advertising, whether you know you're drop shipping or whether you're just kind of trying to sell a core product to make a profit, or you're actually trying to build brand, build a community, build a brand that's sustainable, that's going to, you know, last a number of years. Because as you know, I don't know your experience with drop shipping, but there is a life cycle with these products. So you're kind of jumping from product to product, and I've done it myself, a small bit, but I didn't feel very fulfilled doing it because it wasn't my product, it wasn't my brand that I created. So yeah, for me, I kind of stepped away from that. So I'm all about building brand, building long time value for community, and just like having a community that people feel invested in or feel a part of, and just kind of linking all that up.
Why a marketing agency?
For me,
yeah,
it's a funny one. So like, my background is marketing when I went to university, but then after I graduated, I was like, I'm not quite ready to kind of jump into a job. So went on like a J1 over in the US, lived between New York and San Francisco.
Oh, dope.
But in San Francisco was where I really kind of picked up a lot of kind of knowledge and a lot of inspiration. I was caddying at a golf course, so there was like super high level people there, millionaires, billionaires, sports stars. So essentially I was caddying for these people.
That's, by the way, I think one of the best side jobs to have, no?
Yeah,
In
I
terms
mean, it
of,
was
like,
great. I got to pick.
free mentoring if you're a bit like social and try
That's
to.
how I treated it. I was like, okay, I have 4.5 hours with these people. I'm going to make sure they have a great time. Golf as well is a massive passion of mine. Played it throughout my whole youth and in college. But I was essentially just a sponge, just like soaking up knowledge from whatever they were saying.
Like you were, to give me some context, you were like around them all the time. Could you ask them questions or?
Yeah, for sure. Again, it was just like very, very, very easygoing. Like it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a job at all. And you know, it was my job to make sure that they had a good time on the course and like make sure to give them the right yardages and stuff like that. So the better job that I was doing, it just built rapport and trust between us. So I was pretty good at that. And from there, then they asked me a lot of questions about my life and where I was going, and you know, I asked a lot about their life, where they started and what they've learned. And it's kind of a trend you see on like TikTok now. You know, you see the guy where he goes up to the cars and he's like, yeah, so what do you do for a living? Or like, what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs? I felt like I was getting that every day, like for 4.5 hours from these mentors, from these super successful people. So then I carried that into like, okay, I know what I want to do now for the next number of years.
Do you have like a couple, sorry to interrupt, but do you have like a couple of like things that you still remember? Like a couple of like, that was like an insight that changed the trajectory of the rest of my life, or something like that too?
Like multiple streams of income was definitely the one, because like you're not going to get wealthy off just like one salary and like trading.
That's why you're now
trading your time
buying
for money.
Properties and different crypto.
Yeah, so I'm looking to branch out. Yes, like the agency started as like when I came back from the US. Initially, it was golf tours I was going to be doing, and I did that for a couple of months, and I brought a couple of tours over from the US with the network I had. Brought them on a golf tour experience around Ireland, because it has very, very renowned golf courses that people want to play, and you can't get them in the US. But then I kind of found like, with the competitors in the space, they were super established, and like it's all kind of word of mouth and referrals. So I was kind of like up against the big dogs when it came to try and bring in like larger scale tours that, you know, made sense financially over the course of time. So I kind of parked that idea for the time being, and then focused on setting up a marketing agency with my friend back in Galway, my hometown in the west of Ireland, and his background was marketing as well. So yeah, we just set up the agency, you know, completely green, and like, you know, didn't really understand what we were getting ourselves into, but we learned and adapted very quickly. And it, you know, we chose it because it was good. It was a good cash flow business when you could build out retainers, and obviously a lot of it is result driven. And you know, the more that we learned and the more that we worked with clients, I found just it was all referral, because we had such a good success rate, whether it was, you know, Facebook ads or like revenue driven campaigns, or we were building like e-commerce websites, like built for optimizing or improving conversion rates.
So your service was like website built and also marketing on Facebook mainly?
Yeah, so like my background was kind of more on the creative advertising side of things, and then my business partner Dylan, he was more on the website build. So it was essentially like two sides of the business in one, and he managed everything web and I managed everything marketing, but then we could upsell and cross-sell between the two clients that we were dealing with. So yeah, done that for like probably about 4 years. I'm kind of slowly transitioning away from that into other projects now, but it is still in the marketing space and carrying that experience that I've gained over the last 4 years. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the marketing right now.
Dope. And so for how long did you have your marketing agency in total?
So yeah, it's probably 4.5 years now.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Probably it's like 5 years next summer, I think. But yeah, just working branch out into other kind of more emerging markets or industries that I'm more fascinated by, because, you know, I've been doing what I've been doing now for the last 4.5 years, but it's not something that I see myself doing over the next 10 years. And I just think there's a massive opportunity cost of me not kind of going where the world is going versus just like staying in the marketing agency space, working with brands and working with clients. Really kind of want to get into my own stuff now, because as I said, I've acquired enough experience that, you know, I'm definitely capable of running a successful brand myself.
Interesting, because that's actually what I'm not sure if I'm subconsciously doing it, but like when I'm, for example, on a call with clients, and obviously we're actually delivering the service, we're delivering the advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and now also Google and Pinterest. we're also like helping them with like strategy calls, like, okay, you should have more user-generated content. This is the way how you can collect it. But at the same time, during those calls, I'm also asking them questions actually, because in my mind, they're like, okay, I might want to start my own brands, like you as well. Because then I can use my agency to actually like boost my own brand as well, because I know which strategies are working. I can actually test strategies on my own brand and then apply to my clients or vice versa. So that's a really interesting thing. I think if you go from like an agency and then build your own brand, I think you have more chance on success on your own
you have a massive advantage, because I've spent four years looking at data and looking at analytics, and that's kind of what I'm fascinated by, is just using data to make a proper business decisions. So
how do you use sorry to interrupt again, but how do you use the data right now with all the shit that's going on, the iOS 14, 15, the ad account blocks?
Yeah, there's a bit of a war going on there in the big tech space. So right now, obviously, it's trickier to manage who exactly, like the more detailed data. So like what I've done now is starting to like break down campaigns by like, okay, I'm running this on Instagram only, I'm running this on Facebook only, so I can see what platforms are delivering the best results, because you're not able to see that now when you group them all together. Similar when it comes to like age demographic, you can't get that data back off Facebook ads in their ads manager. But
there are ways around it though. Like I'm not sure. Do you use like UTMs or like certain tools?
I'm not using UTMs. No. But we have like partners for other type stuff that we work with brands in the Google ad space as well, and like they're pretty good at feeding analytic data as well. So yeah.
For some reason, Google AdWords is tracking the data, or at least what I see in my clients. I'm not sure what about you. Is tracking the sales better for some reason. I think also because like Shopify and Google, especially Google Analytics, that's part of Google. So obviously that's tracking the Google AdWords better than Facebook, for example. But for some reason, even in Shopify, it's tracking Google results better than Facebook, which I find pretty interesting. But yeah, like what we do actually, we're using like manual UTMs at the moment right now. So just creating a manual UTM for each ad, and then obviously they land on if they click on the ad, they land on the URL, and then you can use that URL to look into Shopify Analytics. And to be fair, it's still not giving you enough data or enough like overview. So I'm actually partner up with like a guy in Bali after this podcast. I can share your contact. But he built like this tool, and he connects like the AP address of someone that lands on your website to like an encrypted code, so it's like GDPR friendly.
Okay.
And then whenever they purchase or whatever, if they come back on the website, it automatically connects that AP address again to an encrypted code, and then it matches the two each other. So okay, it comes from here.
Okay, yeah. So it's good to hear that there's certain ways around that, because it's been a bit of a headache with running certain ads. But at least we have previous data that we kind of understand who. For our clients anyway, who our buyer persona is based off previous data, so that's not going to shift too much.
That's true. Because for most clients, do you have like a long partnership with most of your clients?
Yeah, we have a long history. I've been working with like one client in particular since we started, and others are 2 and 3 years. So at least we have all that previous data where we know who our core customer is. We know, what kind of device is more often used.
That's the best, right? Like
it's like if you were starting from scratch, from a brand from zero, it would be a lot more difficult. But at least you have some previous data there that you can use and that's stored. So we can segment our audiences then based off using the previous data.
Dope. What about NFTs? Because I'm really fascinated by it, and I'm not a crypto expert at all. I have some friends that are crypto expert. I'm not sure if you would say you're a crypto expert.
I'm definitely not an expert. I'm constantly learning and just trying to evolve as the space is evolving. But it's moving so fast. I don't even think people realize until it's actually happening. Even the NFT space, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the utility of it and like how it's going to integrate into society. Like Gary Vee has probably been the best example of how he explains it, where he's creating experiences with his V Friends projects. I find that very, very interesting, where you can hang out with him, you can go to the gym with him, you can go fishing with him, you can get him on your podcast is an NFT as well. If you're looking.
So how does it work? You buy like an NFT, like an image, probably?
Yes. Well, it is image based, but it's a contract based on, it's a contract on the blockchain that you have Gary Vee available to come on your podcast. I think it's like every year. And then based on the value of like people perceive that.
You can buy him for every year on your podcast.
Yeah.
It's one of the NFT contracts.
Yeah. And then once it's kind of used once, I think they burn that contract or they burn that first use. But then you still have more uses on that NFT. And then as perceived value, people see like, okay, I'd actually like Gary Vee to come on my podcast. Your NFT rises in value. So then you could sell that rights of Gary Vee. If they wanted Gary Vee on their podcast, you could sell that then for a profit yourself.
Interesting.
So that's Gary Vee is definitely the best explanation I've seen of NFTs and where it's going. But again, it's still so early. I'm trying to find the time and to like really kind of dive into the NFT space and the whole metaverse area. And
that's a whole
where that's going to go over the next 5 years, because even like the whole gaming space, I always seen it as an emerging industry and like there's massive money in the industry from looking at like Twitch and what some of the gamers are earning there. But now with the metaverse and with NFTs and play to earn games, I'm really fascinated in the direction that's going.
Have you checked out XC Infinity?
Yeah. Axie's like the core one that's done the best so far. But there's multiple like even being dropped lately, like Solana are dropping their own NFT game as well, a play to earn game called Sol Chicks. The IDO just released there recently, but there's so many competing in that space. So that's definitely something that I'm looking at closely and looking to try and learn from the opinion leaders in that space. So yeah, do you know any good podcasts or any people that you follow in the NFT world?
I have a couple of friends actually that I know are like deep in the trenches because they started like 4 or 5 years ago. So for example, a discussion I mentioned with a friend of mine, he's big into NFT projects and especially like in art and especially like in specific art for NFT. So like not like random artists, but like actually artists that like are pretty valued pretty high.
Yeah.
So but it's super interesting. Yeah. And also from like, because I'm nonstop, like I used to be like really, I'm not sure about you because you also mentioned like multiple income streams, but I'm like for the first year and I'm doing my HC for like 2.5 years. But like first 2 years I was like super focused on that because I saw so many people fell into the trap of like the grass is greener on the other side and then you're just trying to chase all the rabbits, but you don't get none. Obviously, you know that phrase. So I was like super focused on it, but now, especially lately, I'm more like, okay, maybe I want to do a little bit of side projects, seeing what's going on here, what's going on there. When do you decide to look into something? Like, did you always had different side projects, or were you like focused on your agency in the beginning?
Was focused on the agency. So me and my business partner kind of agreed on, okay, we're gonna go at this for 3 years and see where we are. And after 3 years, we can make a decision whether we want to continue it. Is it something that we're really passionate about and want to continue over the next?
Why 3 years?
It was just a number that we picked. Yeah. Just to kind of stick at it in terms of like, okay, we're going to do 3 years. We started off as our just the two of us, and then obviously branched out to an office space and employees. And I think that was like a turning point when I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I want to be doing the agency with employees and with an office space fixed in one location. And here I am now in Bali. Like I've definitely transitioned, and I'm moving in another direction now in my own life. So after 3 years, then it was like, okay, I'm good at certain things, but then I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to be in the agency life working with brands anymore, because you kind of feel like an employee to them in a case where you're an agency. Obviously you have your scope and your boundaries set in terms of like what deliverables are in place, but you have a lot of clients that ring you at random hours on a weekend looking for something, and that kind of like the strain on that kind of just like, that's not kind of what I'm after now, So yeah, after 3 years then we've kind of both agreed that like, okay, we've acquired all these skills, but now we're both kind of go our own direction. He's setting up his own e-commerce brand himself, and I'm working on my own brand as well, looking to launch here next year. So then like that's just like one core focus that I'm focused on one brand, because I just found that my focus was just like a bit all over the place in the agency. Where like at one stage we had like 25 clients, and they're all different products or different services, and it's a lot of information for your brain to process.
It's hard to
prioritize, and then people are pulling you from different sides of of the table requesting things. So I was like, no, I just want to focus on one thing and just get really, really good at it. And that's what I want to start doing now with the brand in the next year. But then I've like accumulated enough savings and cash now from the agency, because like it's a good cash business to be in when you have retainers. So now I'm like looking to make that money work for me in other areas that don't take up a whole lot of time, you know, in kind of the real estate game, bit of crypto investing. And just kind of let them work in the background. They're just like a longer term thing, because like keeping cash in your bank account is not a good idea.
I know.
You know, when you're looking at the levels of inflation that are on the horizon now in Europe. So yeah, and the banks don't give you any good interest.
I think there will be a financial
your money. But then there's the whole revolution of like DeFi. That's another space in crypto where, you know, I'm actually staking some of my own money now in these DeFi projects, and you know, you're earning a very, very good interest on your money that the banks cannot even compete with. So DeFi is here to stay, and that's kind of the finance side of crypto that I'm really interested in, and I'm happy to put my money.
Dope. Yeah, I'm also like, because I have some cash now in the bank. So I'm like looking where shall I put it, and just hired an accountant as well. But like, yeah, it's not a good use of your money having it in the bank. Yeah.
Just the buying power of your euro or your dollar is going down year on year, and it's like in terms of people that I look up to in the crypto space or finance, you look at like how Michael Saylor has adapted to like moving his cash reserves into Bitcoin as a kind of an asset class, rather than just his dollars depleting in the company and devaluing the company. He's actually made the company more valuable by making that smart move. And you know, I'm just looking at like what the top business people are doing. Like, they obviously know what's going on. So if you can follow a couple of like really good business people in the spaces that you're interested in, and just like look at what they do, not so much what they say.
Do you have a couple in mind you can share?
Yeah, definitely. Like Michael Saylor would be one. Elon, he's very comical. He's hit or miss.
Big whale.
He's fun to kind of pay attention to. But then looking at like Raoul Paul is another really good guy to be looking at, and just like people in my own network who are kind of have really, really done well what they're doing with their cash now, and kind of seeing where they can put it to work in the crypto space. That's enough kind of validation for me to kind of, you know, really take this space seriously and take the plunge and kind of move away from your traditional banks in Ireland, where I'm from anyway, where, you know, it can take 3 days to make a bank transfer and there's a third party involved. Where, you know, if I want to make a transfer to someone in crypto, I don't need any third party. I can do it myself, and it costs pennies to send. So, yeah, it's a growing space. Like in 5-10 years, everybody's going to be using crypto to pay for everything online.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that timeline. Obviously, it's really hard to like. I don't think anyone knows the exact timeline. Otherwise, they will be hell that rich. They know it exactly, but yeah, I think that's definitely, if you look at it from that standpoint, definitely like the future. It's super.
You can have an estimate on the timeline looking at like the rate of adoption now that's coming in, especially when it comes to like Bitcoin. We're going a bit off topic here with the marketing, but again, it's kind of like I'm trying to mix marketing and crypto together. But you see like how currencies are falling to the knees on many of these third world countries, and there has to be a turning point, and it's already happening. Like El Salvador has now obviously legalized Bitcoin as tender, and like their GDP has already risen. There's other countries that are going to follow suit because all their currencies is crashing. Look at Turkey, the lira is crashing.
Super smart. If you're one of the first countries that switch over to Bitcoin, you're going to be hella rich, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just like a domino effect then. Once it's going to come from the third world countries first, and then it's going to impact the first world. So yeah, just the countries that are really, really struggling and people are poor and need money to eat and need money to live and need money to just start commerce. They can do it from a mobile phone because, you know, they're not able to get bank accounts or able to get loans. But if they have crypto and they have their phone, they can get loans through DeFi projects. They can use crypto as payments, and it just eliminates all the barriers that have allowed them to live like a prosperous life in their country. So I think it's definitely happened. The adoption rate, just as like an asset and as crypto as an asset and as a currency and what those projects are looking to solve in the world. So yeah.
What do you think about it? It is a bit off topic. Well, it's not off topic, but it's like a different route. What do you think about marketing agency for crypto or marketing agency for NFT projects? I haven't seen many, and there's like it's a super upcoming market. I was thinking just yesterday about it. I'm not sure. Obviously, you run an agency as well for like not traditional, but for e-commerce.
E-commerce, yeah.
Brands, as I do as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, again, it's definitely a space you can be in. If you're very niche at what you're doing, I think you're going to get the right people. I know I can't think of the name.
It's hard to advertise though on Facebook.
Well, they just actually legalized cryptocurrency ads again, like yesterday. I don't know if you know about that, because like Facebook are moving into crypto. They just rebranded Meta, so it makes sense for them to legalize crypto and
super interesting.
Anything in the NFT space related. So ads are going to be approved for that, which is
soon
good.
Now we will get all the crypto ads, you know. Oh my god.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of that. Google obviously approved it like a good while back as well. But back to your question on the agency thing, yes, for sure. Was one guy that I know in the e-commerce space, a friend of his, has a marketing agency purely focused on like branding for crypto projects, and he's doing super well.
What's his name?
I don't know his name, but I can get you the name of it. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. I think his name is Kevin. No. He's from the UK, but doing super well with branding for crypto projects. Yeah, I can show you the Instagram after. I found it really interesting. So yeah, definitely, why not? But you need to niche down and really know what you're doing. And if you're going that direction with crypto, where I don't know, like with your e-commerce brands, like have you niched or are you doing? Is it all different types of products?
I didn't really obviously have like my certain set of qualifications, so they need to be in a price point between 50 and 200 in AOV. They have to need like a certain like conversion rate on their website. Basically, there has to be like a good product, and they have to be between like 20 to let's say 250k a month in terms of revenue, because that's like the sweet spot. Because I know they have like a proven product, and they only need like that oil on the fire. Because some people like mistake advertising that it's automatically gonna fix their whole product market fit or gonna fix their whole branding. In my opinion, doesn't really like. You need to have like a proven product market fit, and then you can use advertising to actually throw oil on the fire and then blow it up.
So what is the special oil for your agency then? When you come into a product that, or to a brand that's already doing decent revenue, they've a proven product and market fit, what separates you then from your marketing to really kind of help them scale? How do you scale a brand like that that's already doing well but wants to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think what we really focuses, and it sounds cliche, but like on things that actually moving the needle forward. So especially, for example, to give you an example, last year I would say like user-generated content got way more popular.
Yeah.
So obviously we are already running pretty good ads on Facebook, Instagram, but we've seen like if you're using that type of content, it like shoots up. We have like fucking version or click-through rates of like 3% on calls, you know, that kind of things. So we're actually like helping the client in that case, like helping with user-generated content. So we're actually creating a whole brand rep structure and how they can use their existing customers and turn them actually in like small influencers, in small like content builders basically. And they all create like different videos, photos for Facebook, Instagram. Because I think you have the same problem sometimes. Like you want not to do everything. Like I think it's almost impossible as an agency, especially if you're doing below like $1 million a month, right? As an agency, so if you're not like a big agency to do everything. Like I don't think an agency that has less than 20, 50 people can do website builds, Pinterest marketing, TikTok marketing, Facebook marketing, SEO, can do all those things and be the best in all those things. So what we do is like really specializing the last 2 years in Facebook advertising. So that's our bread and butter, if I like to say that.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the last year we'd be like looking at other fields as well to actually help our clients, especially with like, for example, the tracking. We're helping that. So it's still our bread and butter, but at the same time, I'll also see, I'm interested with your thoughts about it, that Facebook is kind of dying in terms of like advertising.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think depending on the product, yeah, for sure. Because like, a lot of people now are just like moving on to the early stages of TikTok ads and like creating actual native content organically and trying to catch on to trends and make stuff go viral, just to bring in like, free traffic essentially just by being creative, where Facebook is just pay to play. It's not as profitable as before. Like you can still get conversions, great, but like sure. Definitely like CPAs have gone up, like your cost per acquisition has gone up, the clicks have gone up, the impressions have gone up. So yeah, I probably won't be advertising that much in Facebook as they kind of move, as they pivot towards the metaverse space. I think that's going to be more of a community hanging out platform versus an ad platform. But then it's like, what's to say in the metaverse, what is ads going to look like in the metaverse?
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Is it going to, this is like a theory that I have, is like, are ads going to go from, instead of being in on the news feed, they're going to be in the metaverse. So Adidas are already buying real estate in the metaverse. I don't know if you're familiar with the metaverse projects.
Give some context also for maybe the people listening, like what's the metaverse? Obviously I have some.
Yeah, so the metaverse is essentially like the digital world that Facebook is trying to invest. Well, they're like the leader in terms of like they're investing the most money into it. But it's a digital virtual world, kind of like the movie Ready Player One, where like people are going to be spending more time hanging out. But then obviously like brands need to adapt to that, because people's attention are going to be in this space a lot more versus like the real world where they're scrolling. So imagine if you were in the metaverse and say there's an Adidas store that's in there. You can go into the Adidas store in the virtual world, in the metaverse. And with your cryptocurrency or whatever digital currency that you're using, you can try on an Adidas shoe in the metaverse, and then you can make that transaction in the metaverse, and then it'll be delivered to your house in real life. So that's the direction I see it going. So that's very interesting. But yeah, like this, it's all kind of there to see how it plays out over the next while, how fast we actually adopt to it, It's like, is it going to happen in 5 years, or is it going to happen in 15 years? We don't know.
Do you think marketing trends are changing faster now than when you started your agency, or when you started with advertising, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Because it feels like nowadays it's like so. Every 3 months there's something else. Like Facebook is bringing out, or Apple's bringing out another update while you cannot track your email operates, for example, or whatever. And now they're coming up with Metaverse. Do you think it's changing faster? I think so, but interesting because you're longer in the space.
Yeah. It's definitely changed. I think more so on like the execution of your campaigns and like the thought process that needs to go into campaigns, because there's so many variables and it's just so inconsistent. Where before, you could just like have a decent product, just throw money in it, and it would return really good ROAS or return. Where I think you need to be thinking just like outside the box, where like having different traffic sources or different areas where customers are coming to your website, not just solely dependent on Facebook ads, because it's just, you're not going to make a whole lot of money unless you have really, really good margins and you can afford to do it. But yeah, like for a lot of my brands now, we've kind of deviated away from like, I'm not very Facebook ad like product focused in terms of like sales. I'm more so like building tribe, trying to move them into like our own database offline, and then
like, well, what's your own database?
Well, like I wouldn't say offline, but like moving people into email, moving people into kind of a more personable community that they can that we can communicate to and can update them more cost effective than just trying to like pump 10k into Facebook ads and hopefully return 30k. It's like we're running campaigns on Facebook now where we're getting people to kind of sign up to like certain competitions, or like through the website, collecting those email databases and then being able to like run email campaigns to them then over different seasons of the year, whatever type of news you want to make them aware of.
What do you think of SMS marketing? Do you use it for your brands already, or?
I don't use it for our brands. In Ireland, my own view on it is I just find it too intrusive, because there's so much like information out there. Like you're seeing Facebook ads, you're seeing Instagram ads, you're getting emails, you're seeing TikTok ads, and it's like, oh, well now we're doing SMS ads. It's just like, I know SMS for me, I'm not a huge fan of. I just personally speaking, I just find it annoying when a brand would text me trying to sell me a product. to my text. Where like email or whatever, knowing that I've like signed up to something that I'm expecting an email is good. But like SMS, I'm not a huge fan of. I know in the US it definitely works a lot better. But for Ireland and just for my own personal values, I'm not a fan of SMS. I'm trying to get away from the mobile more so. I'm spending too much time on it.
You only want to get a text when your friends are texting, let's go to the bar, get some Guinness beer.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, just WhatsApp is pretty good to kind of chat to friends, and I just think it should be left at that. Just brands getting involved in kind of diving into your personal chat with your friends, I just think is a bit intrusive, and brands just need to be a bit more careful. There's other ways to do it.
Well, I think you can only use SMS marketing if they actually give permission. So the people that are getting SMS marketing, they or getting those text messages, they actually sign up for something.
Yes and no.
I hope.
Yes and no. In GDPR compliant countries, yes. But in the US, it's like
US, they spam.
Data mining. They'll rip your phone number. They don't give a crap. They'll just try and sell you something. It's capitalism. It's capitalism at its finest in the US. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like if I put my text message into a Shopify checkout and then I abandon, they have my phone number. Then they can use me for SMS for future offers, even if I don't want to.
Even in Europe or only outside Europe?
In Europe as well.
Really?
Yeah. Because once I put in my phone number, then they have it for their email flows, whether it's email or SMS flows.
You sure they don't need to give extra permission to send text, or for the brand to send text?
Once you're in the flows, no. Once you've carried through to the checkout process and you've abandoned checkout, like once you've actually clicked your email and your number into the system,
the little check box.
Yeah.
That's true.
But no one reads the fine print. It's just like, okay, people are going to start emailing me. I don't find it too annoying, to be honest. If I don't want to see the content or I don't find it of value anymore, I'll just unsubscribe. It's simple. I think GDPR was blown out of proportion, really, on like people actually taking it serious. It was more for the bigger companies that were kind of stealing data, mining data, and like sending millions of emails a day.
Do you think Facebook is reading our WhatsApp text?
Who knows? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, any kind of more private stuff, I just move to Telegram or
you do
have those conversations there. Yeah,
like I know I don't have it lately, but I used to have conversations with friends about like a product. Let's say a certain product, we were like both talking about sunglasses.
Yeah, on voice.
Just talking to each other like this. And then for some reason, one of us would get fucking advertisements about sunglasses on Facebook.
Yeah, that's because your microphone is on. It's like you give Facebook access to your microphone. It's constantly on. It's listening to us right now. So if we start talking about
sex,
we're talking about sex, and a load of porn ads are going to come up or something. I don't know.
No, they don't. They don't give porn ads. So that's the secret way. You have to talk a lot about porn because you don't get any ads because they're not allowed on Facebook.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's like if you're talking about a product, whether it's an e-commerce hot product or like a bicycle or something like that. We're coming into Christmas period now, so like if we're talking about bicycles for whatever.
Just a little test. Just use the word bicycle all the time.
Yeah, you'll start seeing ads for bicycles or whatever. So yeah,
I will eventually. I'm not really using Facebook, which is funny because I'm actually advertising on Facebook a lot. But I will check. Maybe today I will see some bicycle ads. I'll definitely screenshot send to you. Yeah, that'll be fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So yeah, you can turn off your microphone if you want on Facebook in the settings, so they're not recording your conversations. But if you want to then use it for Messenger for calls, then you just need to turn the mic back on. Just a lot more manual. But people are lazy by nature. They actually don't care unless you got something to hide.
People care more about convenience than privacy.
That's it, convenience. People are getting lazier and lazier by the day.
And I don't know, do you care that Facebook, even if they would listen to everything you say, would you care? Like,
as a marketer, I don't really care, because if I'm going to be served things on the algorithm that I like, then I'm getting a better experience on the app. If I'm interested, like at the moment, my Instagram and Facebook feed is like all about like metaverse, crypto, like obviously interested in golf, like some sports, Premier League or whatever. But like that's what I'm talking about now. We're talking about metaverse now. So maybe you'll start seeing some metaverse related stuff or NFT stuff on your feed. But yeah, it's good once it's used correctly. But I don't know about the whole selling of the data then. I think it's just that just goes beyond our own knowledge of like what actually is going on, bigger picture with like Facebook, are they in cahoots with the government? Are they selling your private information to the government based on like what you're interested in? And then just like the government, like, are we moving towards like a social credit system? Again, well, maybe we won't get into the conspiracy stuff today.
We can go a little bit in a rabbit hole, but
no, it's good.
That's interesting. Okay. To zoom out a little bit, obviously you've worked with a lot of brands over the past 4 or 5 years. Are there certain, I wouldn't say challenges, but certain obstacles you see with most brands? And for example, like on the advertising, in the advertising area?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, brands that are like, I work with a lot of SMEs. We're not talking like big scale companies here,
yes,
but a lot of SMEs that are starting out in the e-commerce space. Even more so now, this is going to be happening because of COVID, and people have like shifted into like, I don't want to work with this company anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. People, by not really kind of identifying what the vision or like what they really want to stand for when they're building this, has a huge obstacle in carrying out a campaign on a monthly or a 6 monthly basis. Like people kind of like they really need to double down on like the vision and like what the brand is actually going to set out to do, and then kind of reverse engineer the vision into like, okay, how are we going to carry out certain activities to carry out the vision and hit certain goals. So I think people are very short-term thinking, and I think this comes down to like, people's attentions now are so distracted, like whether you're looking at your phone, you're so distracted. I think people get so distracted by like what they're actually doing in their life. So they kind of carry this into like what they're doing in their everyday life. Then they just don't think long term enough. They're thinking too short term. So that was a big obstacle that we found with some brands that we work with, is like they're looking for results in the short term versus like actually building like a proper sustainable brand and building community that
having some more patience.
Having more patience, that's it. Everyone's trying to get rich quick these days, and it's just it's flawed. It doesn't exist.
Do you have a couple of marketing strategies you wanna disclose how you're helping, or maybe for your future brand or the brands you're already building? Like, are you more thinking in terms of influencer marketing? Maybe you wanna still gonna go fully in Facebook, Instagram ads, or maybe you're thinking more about like TikTok ads, Pinterest ads.
Yeah. So what we're doing with a couple of brands now is like we're already seeing like we're looking ahead of like the end of the life cycle of like paid ads on Facebook and stuff. So we're just trying to maximize our spend on that now, and trying to like trying to bring customers from the Facebook platform into like our own control, where we can, you know, talk to them on email, or we can do video on YouTube, trying to bring them to those areas where they can find our content there or organically and stay up to date. Influencers obviously are working to a certain degree, but you really need to find the right influencer for you, because there's so many influencers out there that are just like, they're just happy to take your money, and they don't really care about the brand, and they're probably not the right brand fit, and a lot of them are fake followers. So you need to be really careful with the influencers that you're working with, and just like do your due diligence on them, and just make sure that they're not just going to take your money and then just like you're not going to get a return for it. But yeah, we're essentially just trying to like work our community away from Facebook and more into our control with email, and kind of just kind of communicate with them there through email. And yeah, we'll see what happens as we kind of break into more video related stuff on YouTube as well. But yeah, there's so much happening in the space. It's hard to stay up to date with everything.
Yeah, for sure. I heard a lot of big dogs are into YouTube now. They spend so much like money on YouTube, especially everything that's going on this year. Do you do any YouTube advertising for your client?
So we have a Google partner that manages the Google ads for our clients. So that's one thing as well. It's like, that's how we've kind of really done well with brands. Is like, rather than trying to be average at everything, and like say me doing like a bit of Facebook ads, email, Google, whatever, I just double down on what I'm good at and do that, and then just like find the best people that can do other things really, really good, better than you, and just like bringing team together to try and like execute a strategy the best. And I think that's the best. So they do a lot of the YouTube stuff for us. Again, just like try and have, you know, short 30-second to a minute max video on YouTube, and like I believe you can integrate your shop into YouTube now as well, where people can, purchase seamlessly if they want. Or it's a case where they might see our YouTube ad, and then like we might run like low budget retargeting ads on another platform which they may see.
That's what I've seen works. I'm starting to experiment more with it, but for one client, the Facebook ads were not really, they were barely breaking even.
Yeah.
So now we're doing a top of funnel, so new audiences on TikTok, and we retarget them on Facebook, Instagram, and we've only started like 1.5 months ago, but we already see like way better results because traffic is like, it's crazy cheap. Like the cost per click on TikTok is so much lower than Facebook, Instagram. Obviously the quality of the traffic is not the same as Facebook, Instagram, but then we retarget them Facebook, Instagram.
And how many steps in, like, say for a product that's, you're saying average order value of 40, 50 is kind of what your usual sweet spot.
Yeah.
How many steps, or like what's the buyer journey like for you for those, whether you're saying you're running one campaign top of funnel on TikTok, and then like next?
So for this specific client, it's actually funny because the average order value is way higher. It's around like $150 to 200. So we see the customer journey is a little bit longer, obviously, as expected. When you look at, like, for example, we have another client which is on the lower end. There's like the average order value is like $30. So we see a lot of like the retargeting is not much more profitable than actually the cold audiences, because people are like, especially depending on the product, but they're buying the product straight away. If it's like around the average order value of 30, 40, you still have a lot of people that are potentially interested like later down the line. Especially for like products higher than like, let's say 100 AOV, we see like retargeting plays a massive role to actually make sure your advertising is profitable.
Yeah.
So and not even like a 7-day website visitors, but also like Google branded ads, also email marketing, as you said, like all like interconnected makes your advertising really profitable, because the competition get higher and higher, with all those channels, like even email marketing or even Google AdWords branded campaigns. It's getting more competitive than it used to be, in my experience, than a couple of years ago. So you want to squeeze every euro or dollar out.
But I think it's getting more competitive because it shows that the growth of e-commerce in general.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of a good thing. It was never going to stay sunny forever. So you just have to adapt as a brand, and that's what we focused on, like actually building brand that are going to return to your website because they want to and they love your products, and like really giving them a really full experience of what your brand is, not just from when they see your content on social to when they put the order through on the website. It's like the unboxing experience when it arrives, what it makes them feel, that then they remember your brand, and then they talk positively about your brand to their friends, and it's like that's the best lasting impression that you need to leave on customers. Not just like, I see it with dropshippers and they don't even touch the product themselves, and they just like send the product. It might be delayed because the shipping from China is all over the place at the moment. It's a supply chain issue, and just like it's going to be crazy around Christmas and New Year's. A lot of people won't get their Christmas presents on time.
Their beloved Christmas presents.
But yeah, it's just like when it arrives, from my own experience, I'd done drop shipping for a while, and I got so much customer complaints because you weren't in control of the packaging, the product, you didn't feel it, and even a simple thing like writing a handwritten personal letter to that person that makes that person feel special, that you're thanking them and you appreciate their business for supporting the brand, and then they feel part of the community. And then just building lifetime value on that sense, where the first bit of ad dollars you spend on Facebook or on paid search,
can I sort of
that's last longing. That is a last longing effect. It's not just that $10 that you pay to acquire the customer. Over time, that just like halves and then halves again. And if they buy from you 5 or 6 times, it's going to cost you less than like €1 to acquire that customer.
Yeah, for sure. I was about to interrupt you, but before I forget, like a really good digital way for the handwritten note is what we're actually implementing for our clients is now creating a founder's video and then retarget all the people that were on the website and actually bought a product.
Nice.
And also the customer list, and then you can even like segment them. For example, we have a couple of clients that have a lot of products, so you can even like segment them. Like for example, skateboard. We have a skateboard work for like, hey, thank you for buying a skateboard with us. We really appreciate your support. Here is like a 10 for a friend discount code. Smash it! It's crazy. Like there's so much money on the table.
That's clever. Yeah, especially if you have additional products, whether you're a one product store, if you're always evolving and like innovating as a brand and bringing out newer products, that's the longevity
even
of
not
the brand.
because people are like, damn, I got this video. They might even share it with their friends because not many brands do it. It will actually give them like a better experience, you know. So even if you don't have like a lot of like
that's a good tip.
Turnover.
I wasn't aware of that one.
So that's a good digital version of the handwritten note. A handwritten note also works. Favors obviously. One of our clients does it.
Yeah, like video is great, but again, coming back to like the old school, like if it's handwritten, it's just way more personable. You know, you do appreciate it. That's a lot of people will chuck it out because they don't care. They just want the product. But for those people that are like your core customer of like whether they're going to come back and return, they're going to count towards like a lot of your sales over time. So you definitely need to value your customers that are buying. They're not just a number.
Yeah, worth. How'd it go with Black Friday? Before we wrap it up,
I'm not a fan of Black Friday whatsoever. No.
Too much headache.
It's just, I think it's kind of gone beyond its life cycle now. It's just like everybody, it's just a pure, actually log off online on Black Friday because it's just ad after ad Black Friday. There's just so much noise, so much, you don't know where to look. And I just think the whole ethos of it is just like sales focused. And like, if you're building brand and working with brands, you should be focused on doing this over the year.
Do you think brands should participate in Black Friday or?
I don't think so. Like, again, if you're going to sacrifice your margins if you're sacrificing your margins and your customer and the competitiveness of the ad space has gone up because the big players are pumping mad budget in it. You're not going to make that much profit unless you have really, really good margins on your Facebook ads. But if I was to do something Black Friday related, you could do it in advance of like over the course of the year where you're building your email list and it's like people aren't seeing it on their newsfeed, but they're getting it more like exclusive access only through email, where you could like shut your website down for a day, where you know there's a limited amount of products being given or there's extra free gifts being given to the community and past customers, and they can just fill in their email on the website as like a landing page to get exclusive access to that. So like you're kind of holding your website back for this one day. I think that works quite well because a lot of brands now, they're running Black Friday for like a month and a half. It's not just one day. They're really milking it, and it's just dirty for me. I don't want to get the brands that I work with involved in that and have advised them not to do it for the last couple of years. We're more focused on long-term sustainable growth of the brand, and if our product is actually helping people, and if the price point is of value for that customer, we don't need to reduce the price.
True, there's definitely truth in that. I also advise brand, especially this year, I advise brand like if you're gonna do Black Friday, focus on retargeting, focus on your existing followers. Because the advertising costs, just from like making as much money as possible standpoint. Obviously, you want to maintain your brand as well. You're not gonna acquire a lot of new customers during this period because everyone's advertising so much. And even if you're acquiring new customers, it's overwhelming. And people are just focused on getting the sale, whatever. So you can use it to convince certain people that are following you for a while, let's say on your Insta, Facebook page, or they subscribed, or they looked at your website to finally do their first purchase because they have like this price incentive. But yeah, it's crazy. Like I think since 2 years ago, Facebook also has like a bid cap, a frequency cap. So you can not even show more than 2 times the advertisement on one day. So you can just basically put your retargeting budget on like 2K a day, even if you have a small store because they won't spend. But yeah, I definitely agree with like it's getting more and more important to make sure you're aligned with your branding and not just throwing out sales all the time. That's
it. You don't want to like devalue your brand just because it's a Black Friday sale, just because it's like a trendy thing to do, what everyone's doing. I'm a big fan of like, if everybody's going that way, I'd like to go the other way and just like think outside the box. Like they're all doing that. I'd rather just do something more creative and reward our community for their loyalty as customers, but not on Black Friday with all that noise, because it's just a mess.
And even if you can still go from like a different angle, for example, like a sustainable brand we're working with, we do like Green Friday. Instead of doing a sale, they give 20% of their sales to like a non-profit organization. Like there's still ways to go about it.
Yeah.
But you always have to take into account the advertising costs are like 3x, 4x than it used to be. So I think, especially this year was wild. I think everyone, like literally everyone was advertising.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Did you do any Black Friday sales yourself? How did you find it?
We did. Again, like we saw everyone was participating in Black Friday, so the CPMs were even higher than normal. The results were a bit lower. Some clients were still good, but yeah, I think it will only continue.
Was it primarily paid ads you did, or did you do like a collective of like organic content as well as email, SMS? What worked the best out of all the activities you did for Black Friday?
We saw really good results, and we did last year for a couple brands as well, and this year for 2 brands in particular. Again, we did like a VIP sign up, so people could already sign up like a week ago for a VIP access. Basically, in a nutshell, it means they get like an email with like the Black Friday access before Black Friday actually starts. We saw that worked really well, also because they get an email, and then even get like a specific ad for the people that subscribed if the customer list is big enough. We saw that was working really well, and then actually I was surprised because we did do the Green Friday as well for a brand. I was like, okay, it's probably kind of flop a little bit because again, people are like on the social media getting all these discounts, and was actually working quite well. It was also because that particular brand, and there's another brand as well, they didn't really use any sales the rest of the year. So it was more like, okay, whoa, they're actually doing something. They didn't give a discount, but they gave like 20% to a non-profit, or another brand they planted like a tree for every product you bought. So yeah, we definitely saw good results with that. But like the standard Black Friday offer, got less results than the previous years.
Because it's just like, if you're just giving money off your product, I think it's so basic. Like, you could do more kind of add-on stuff that people, again, it's like, if you're really building brand and people feel a part of your community, you know, whether you're throwing like an event, like a Black Friday could be like, you know, you're giving people access to purchase a product, but you also get free access to an event that we're holding, either virtual, or if you're holding in like a certain area, if you're in like a main city. And then those people feel like, okay, it's like invite, they feel special that they're coming to this event. And, you know, you can have entertainment, and you can have like all different types of arts and crafts, whatever is set up that kind of ties into your brand and what your brand value is all about. Make it fun, and make it like not just a digital experience where people are buying to your product.
For smaller businesses to throw like an event, especially if they don't know the rewards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's an investment, and it's it's content, it's future content that they can use, you know. That's it. People are just so caught up in the digital world, they kind of forget that we're people, and like we need connection, and we need these meetings with other community. Like friends of mine have a very, very solid brand. They're a kombucha company in Ireland, and you know, they're growing steadily now, moving into a bigger space, and like they've really focused and doubled down on brand. Like they're doing community days where they're organizing like yoga retreats, they're organizing beach cleanups for the community, and like it's all ties back into this sustainability aspect of the brand. The brand is 100% sustainable, and their whole community and their purchases, their buyers, they're all for that as well, you know. And the fact that they can communicate and like meet other people and meet new friends or colleagues, you know, there's a whole networking and community aspect to the brand. But it's harder to do with like Nike or any of these larger brands because like they're global, right? But if you're like an SME, maybe doing a couple of million a year online, and maybe you're in some retail as well, I think it's a really cool thing to do, and people will travel for it.
I've never thought about this, but that's actually like, also from like, and obviously I'm fixated in advertising mode, like from a content perspective, even if you're one day in half a year, you can get so much content out of it. You can even get like existing customers, and then you just have a photographer running around, or even creating some testimonial videos or whatever. That's really interesting. Hopefully after the pandemic and soon they can actually throw those events. Because that's the only issue I think now, but dope. Any other marketing trends / things you're excited about in the future before we wrap it up?
None that I can really think of off the top of my head. We kind of covered a good few things there.
What do you think about Born NFT?
Which?
born NFT? Is there already a nude out there? The first NFT nude?
I have no idea, man.
There should be. Otherwise, I'm gonna make one.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to a friend of mine about kind of looking into the NFT space a bit more, of like maybe starting a project. Mm-hmm. But again, it's just in the idea stage now. It's not something that I'm looking to do short term. Need to understand the whole market and the industry a lot more before I go, diving into the deep end and entering that space. But definitely mixing my skills of marketing with NFTs and crypto together, I think there's some nice synergy there that that's kind of that's if you're looking for a trend, that's the trend that I see happening. Mm-hmm. It's not happening right now in terms of like adoption or like real use case, but in the next few years, for sure, NFTs and the metaverse space. So that's something that I'm looking to integrate my marketing into.
Yeah, the metaverse. Same with like virtual reality, right? Like everyone's like 10 years ago, like, okay, next year everyone will live with like virtual reality glasses on, but that obviously didn't happen. But yeah, I'm really curious what's gonna. Yeah,
like even look how early Google were with the AR glasses. They didn't catch on
10
then.
10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, they were just so early. But I think we're probably going to get much closer to that as augmented reality becomes more mainstream and more adopted.
With all the corona stuff going on.
And that has even made it fast. Or
I think that will be
that's accelerated to where we're going even faster. But yeah, like it's something that I'm always looking to learn a lot more about. I'm no expert in the NFT or the metaverse or the crypto space, but it's something that I'm fascinated by and just like looking to learn and like maybe read or listen to a podcast like every day, just trying to learn a bit more and upskill in that area.
How do you go about that? Do you have like a certain like every day I'm seeking new information about it? Do you have like certain habits in place?
So I pay for a lot of cases, like in terms of like mentorship. So there's like one guy that I pay him in like his inner circle, and like he gives like really good understanding of the crypto space in terms of like understanding like on-chain metrics, which is the data.
How did you find that guy?
Which is the data between like trying to predict what the whales and what the big money and what the smart money is doing in the market. So yeah, just like weekly calls with him is going very well. And yeah, it's just his education, I suppose, on the crypto space. We're moving a bit more into metaverse now. So yeah, that's kind of the main one. If you want to pay, you can pay to get the best access, but also like there's so much free stuff on YouTube.
There's also so much bullshit out there. So how do you cherry pick the ones that...
It all comes down to your own bullshit detector. If it's bullshit, if it smells like bullshit, it's bullshit. But yeah, it all comes down to like looking at the reputation of the guy and like what he's or girl based on their own experience and like what they've achieved in the space. So yeah, don't get me wrong, there's lots of scammers out there similar in the Forex game. They're promising to make you a millionaire overnight, but that's not the case with the mentor that I have in the crypto space. It's just like weekly calls, market updates, Q&As, like learning so much, and we have a whole community in that group that we can talk to on Telegram, and yeah, it comes back to the community side of things.
Dope, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you for your time. Is there anything you want to share, or maybe where people can find you or connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm not a big social media user myself. I'm just like,
which is ironic.
I'm a producer more than a consumer. I'd like to make things and create things. But yeah, I'm hanging out on Instagram mostly. So yeah, if there's anybody who's interested in crypto.
What's your Instagram handle?
Digital marketing. It's Monrover93.
Dope. Or for your parties.
Yeah. Oh, also yeah, I'm throwing some pretty cool parties in Bali right now as well. Yacht parties and.
We haven't even talked about
some really cool parties coming up. Locations to be announced. But yeah, they'll be very cool. Looking to do that, the next one in January. So really excited for that. Planning already.
Nice. Dope, man. Thanks for your time.
All right, man. Thank you.